Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever dealt with an overzealous HOA, or just love a good underdog story, hit that like button and settle in. This one's a roller coaster. It's asterisk. Picture this. It's 4:30 a.m. and you're jolted. Awake by a sound no homeowner ever wants to hear, the deep, guttural growl of a bulldozer inching toward your backyard. That's exactly what happened to David Jackson in Pinecrest Village, a quiet suburb where dreams of peace were about to collide with greed. As that massive machine loomed closer, its steel blade glinting in the dim light. David didn't know it yet, but he was about to uncover a trap so perfectly laid that even the most cunning HOA couldn't escape it. How did one man turn a land? Grab into a legendary victory? Stick around, because this story's got twists, betrayals, and a payoff you won't see coming. Asterisk. David Jackson wasn't your average homeowner. At 38, he'd spent his life in Pinecrest Village, a sleepy little community where kids rode bikes down tree-lined streets and neighbors waved over picket fences. His house, a modest two-story with peeling white paint, sat on a sprawling lot that had been in his family since the 1950s. His grandfather, Henry Jackson, had bought it after World War II, planting roots with a promise. This land is ours forever. David grew up fishing in the creek that wound through the back acre, climbing the gnarled oak where his dad once built a treehouse, and tending his grandmother's rose garden. To him, it wasn't just property, it was a living memory. But trouble brewed when Eleanor Winters moved in 2 years ago. Former real estate executive with a penchant for power. She'd swept into the HOA presidency on a wave of promises. Upgraded amenities, higher property values, a modernized Pinecrest. With her tailored suits and icy smile, she seemed unstoppable. Most neighbors bought the hype new playgrounds, and a community gym sounded great. David didn't trust her. She's got that look, he'd tell his cousin Vince over beers. It's like she's sizing up everything you own. Then came the letter. It arrived on a crisp October morning, stuffed in David's mailbox alongside bills and junk flyers. The HOA seal glared at him as he tore it open. After a review of community boundaries, your back acre has been reclassified as common property, effective immediately. Please refrain from accessing this area pending further notice. His stomach dropped. That acre wasn't just dirt, it was his heritage. He read it again, hands trembling, then marched straight to Eleanor's house. Asterisk. Eleanor's pristine porch. David knocks hard. She opens the door in yoga gear, her smile tight. David, this letter says you're taking my land. What's going on? Eleanor, no mistake, David. Our survey shows your grandfather's old maps were off. The board voted last night, it's unanimous. David, without telling me, I've paid taxes on that land for 15 years. Eleanor, HOA bylaws don't require notification for corrections. We're building a resort-style pool. You'll benefit too. Asterisk. Right then, David knew he was up against more than a paperwork error. This was a calculated move, and Eleanor wasn't backing down. My take, HOAs can be a double-edged sword. There. Supposed to protect communities, but when power-hungry folks like Eleanor take the reins, they turn into mini dictatorships. Ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? Drop it in the comments, I'm curious. Asterisk. That night, David couldn't sleep. The thumping bass from Tyler and Samantha Morgan's party next door didn't help. They'd built a flashy new pool suspiciously close to his fence. At 1 a.m., he gave up, trudging to the attic to dig through his grandfather's old wooden chest. Dust swirled as he lifted the lid, revealing a treasure trove of history. Faded photos, a rusted fishing lure, and a stack of yellowed papers tied with twine. He spread them on his kitchen table under a flickering bulb. The top sheet was a deed from 1952, hand-drawn with ink that had faded to a soft brown. It mapped out the Jackson property, tracing the creek's original path, the oak tree, and a rocky ridge. David's heart raced as he compared it to the HOA's letter. Their Servia's sterile grid of straight lines ignored these landmarks, entirely slicing off his back acre like it never existed. Then he spotted it. A note in the corner referencing county survey markers. 1952. If those markers still stood, they could prove everything. Asterisk. Here's where it gets good. David wasn't just fighting for land, He was fighting for truth. I love this part because it's a reminder. History matters. Your property's past isn't just nostalgia, it's power. Ever checked your own deed? You might be surprised what's buried in there. He texted James Jacobson, a grizzled surveyor, who'd worked with his dad years ago. By sunrise, David was at the county records office with his cousin Vince, a clerk with a knack for sniffing. Out shady deals? These HOA types are getting bolder, Vince grumbled as they pored over dusty files. They found it, the 1952 survey, confirming the creek as the legal boundary and changed by a 1970s flood. David's land was bigger than he'd thought. That afternoon, Jacobson arrived with his gear. Under the cover of his shed, they hunted for the markers. The metal detector beeped near the overgrown ridge. There it was, a rusted iron stake buried in the dirt. "This says your land goes another 50 feet, Jacobson said, grinning. The pool next door, part of it's yours." They found 3. More, each matching the old map. Then Jacobson paused. "This rigits on a 1950s geological survey, possible archaeological site. Native artifacts were found here once. David, Grandpa used to talk about arrowheads." I thought he was kidding. "Jacobson, if that's true, no one's building anything here without a review?" Narrator, boom game changer. This wasn't just about boundaries anymore. It was about heritage on a whole new level. My opinion? Too many developers bulldoze history for profit. If you've got a story about artifacts or old family land, share it below. I'm all ears. Asterisk, the HOA didn't wait. Text from Eleanor buzzed David's phone. "Groundbreaking Tuesday? Clear your stuff, 5 days?" He drove past the Morgans. Houseworkers were setting up bigger speakers by their pool. Tyler waved like nothing was wrong. David's blood boiled. Then, at 4:30 a.m. Monday, the bulldozer came. He stumbled outside in slippers, flashlight waving. "Stop. This is my land." The operator shrugged. "Got orders." Property. Eleanor rolled up in her Range Rover, flanked by the Morgans in 2 suits. "Watch the groundbreaking, Mr. Jackson," she sneered. David dialed Sheriff Davis, an old family friend. "They're trespassing." As sirens wailed, Rose Thompson, his 8-year-old neighbor, shuffled over with papers. "Your grandpa and I saw this coming," she said. "These are the original HOA minutes. Your boundaries are state recorded." Sheriff Davis shut it down. "No permits before 7 a.m. Pack it up." Eleanor fumed, but retreated, muttering, "This isn't over." The neighbors watched, some filming, others whispering. Narrator, talk about tension. Eleanor thought she could steamroll David literally. My take. She underestimated the power of community and preparation. Ever had. A neighbor step up like Rose, that's gold. Asterisk, climax. The HOA meeting showdown. The emergency HOA meeting was a circus. Eleanor had moved it up 20 minutes, but David stormed in with his briefcase. The room buzzed over. 100 neighbors packed the Ridge Community Center. Eleanor was mid-speech. Pushing a vote to seize his land under an enhancement clause. "David, before you vote, know what's really happening." He laid out his maps. The 1952 survey, Jacobson's findings, the markers. "This is my land, state law says so." And this, he held up arrowheads, found yesterday. Historical preservations pending, no development allowed. Gasps rippled. "Oh, man. This resort's a personal cash grab." The room exploded. Alan Morgan bolted, phone in hand. Eleanor stammered, "This is a delay tactic." But the board turned. Diana Chen moved to suspend her, and the vote was unanimous. David had won for. Now, narrator. Epic, right? David flipped the script with facts and grit. My insight? Greed blinds people. Eleanor didn't see the trap until it snapped shut.
Hank, what's your favorite showdown moment? Let me know.
Resolution. Justice prevails. Eleanor didn't go quietly. She tried intimidation, fake notices, rumors, but David had recordings and allies. 6 months later, Tyler Morgan showed up with a USB drive. "She's planning revenge, fake evidence against you." I'm out. The tax reassessment hit her hard, and at the next meeting, David projected her emails, exposing her fully. She was ousted, Her house listed for sale. The community rebuilt. A leisure center rose on actual common land. Noise rules tightened, and David joined the HOA board. The artifacts? It's confirmed rare by experts, earning a preservation grant. His land was safe forever. Narrator. Sweet victory. I'd turned their greed against them. My opinion? Patience and evidence beat bullies every time. What do you think? Could you pull this off?